Welcome back. I'm sitting down with coach and facilitator Ann Ranson. And thank you so much for being here today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, you have such a broad background. You have over 30 years experience in the media industry. You've also been able to take your sales and branding experience and turn it into strategy and coaching, as well as being a two-time TEDx speaker. So your expertise is just amazing as far as what you've done. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you here is to talk about this amazing article that I found and saw in FYI 50 Plus magazine.
Yeah.
And you actually wrote the article, What If Everything is Happening for You and Not to You? It really resonated with me as a woman because we go through a lot. I always say we juggle 10,000 balls in the air at any given time. And with all of the balls that we juggle, sometimes we drop one or more and we begin to blame ourselves. And a lot of times we go through challenges. Why was it important for you to write this article to be able to empower people to know, look at your situation from a different lens and understand that it may be there to help you?
Yeah. Well, it's one of my operating principles, I guess you would say, as far as my spirituality. I believe in a God of pure love, and I believe that everything is good or there is good in it, even when it doesn't feel that way. And so this is one of the ways that I live my life, is so when I have one of those days or one of those circumstances, like we all do,
Right.
that isn't my ideal, I know there's a higher truth, there's a higher purpose, and that's where I go and say, okay, so how is this happening for me instead of to me?
And it keeps you from having a pity party, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a quote you have in the article, and it's from Byron Katie. She says, life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. Everything happens at exactly the right moment, neither too soon or too late. You don't have to like it. It's just easier if you do.
Yeah.
I thought that was also profound because what she's saying is if you just accept what it is, enjoy the journey, and learn from it, it'll be a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
How did that quote change your life and how you look at obstacles and challenges?
Well, I think it reminds me that there is a flow to life, and that if I'll lean into my faith and to my experience with God, then things are going to go a lot easier. But it's when I resist and it's like, no, I don't want this to be happening. Why is this happening to me? That's when that pity party starts, right?
Right.
And that's not, I don't want to live my life with a pity party.
Absolutely.
And when I get insights, and I don't always get the answers that I'm looking for, of course, but when I get some kind of an insight about how it's happening for me, then I can lean into my faith much more easily and be in the flow.
Well, this show is all about having a growth mindset.
Yeah.
And so Carol DeWitt, one of the top psychologists at Stanford University, she's done a lot of research on mindset.
Yeah.
And she really focuses a lot on fixed mindset and growth mindset. And really a fixed mindset is really someone that really thinks abilities and intelligence really is unchangeable.
Yeah.
Whereas a growth mindset is someone that says, I can do it, I can move forward, and I'm not looking at the situation in front of me. How do you think your article really relates to having a growth mindset?
Well, because I think you can't be fixed and be thinking about how this is happening for me when it feels like it's happening to me. And so I think that forces us to open up. I say I help people see possibilities. And that's a growth mindset,
It is,
right?
absolutely.
Because there are other truths. If you and I sit here and we look at the exact same picture, we're going to describe it differently.
Right.
So there isn't just one truth. There isn't just one way. And to me, that is exemplary, I think that's the right word, of a growth mindset.
And you also say that Earth is a school. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Because every day is a life lesson. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a good experience or bad experience, there's a lesson to be learned. And you also say that learning and going through the process is something, look at it as something new that we're being taught. Mm-hmm. And I like that. How can you get our audience members who are going through anything in life, and now a lot of individuals are going through financial issues, they've gone through a divorce, and whatever that it is for them, what advice would you give to them to be able to see it from a different perspective and to be able to look at it as asking God what is the lesson in this so
Yeah.
they can grow?
Yeah. Well, I call it sitting. So I think that one of the most underrated activities is sitting in silence. I coach my executive clients. If you're not setting aside some time to reflect on your life and how it's showing up in your workplace, then you're not fully showing up.
Right.
And so that's how I get there, is that I make sure I have time in silence every day. People talk about asking in prayer, but then do we sit in the silence to listen for the answer?
Right.
And we get so busy. I understand that. We all have busy lives. But I make it a point, and I would encourage everyone, there is such richness and such, the word divine reward, I guess, that comes out of that time where we can listen for the wisdom that's available to us if we'll take the time.
Before we wrap up, I must address something you said in the article. I can't be a victim if it's happening to me. I thought that was very, very powerful, because you're basically saying when you go through something, if you see that it's happening for you, you don't put yourself in that victim mindset. Explain that a little bit further, because it really, I thought that was impactful.
Well, I have to say, this was a hard lesson for me to get to. I've been actively a spiritual seeker as an adult for, I guess I'm going to tell my age here, more than 3 decades, 30 or 40 years. And when that first concept of there are no victims, everything's happening for you, was like, oh, well, that's well and good, but you must not have been living my life.
Right.
Because I have a different experience.
Right.
And so part of it is persistence and just having faith, and then seeing the demonstration. I know that's true, at least for me.
Right.
It may not be true for anybody else.
Exactly.
But I've proven that there is something for me in every situation, no matter how difficult. And often, the best things that I get that are happening for me come in the most difficult times.
It does. It really does. Yeah. I want to talk about your transformation game event. It sounds amazing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the transformation game, I'll try to put this in a very short time frame. It's a board game.
Okay.
You play it just like Monopoly.
Okay.
Except instead of landing on Park Place or Baltic Avenue, you land on an angel square, an insight square, setback square. And before you play the game, you set an intention. Mm-hmm. And so let's say you set the intention that I want to receive abundance. Mm-hmm. Very common intention in the game. As you move around on the game board, you land on squares and you draw cards. Everything gets filtered through that intention. So the game ends up showing you what you really believe. Mm-hmm. Because if I grew up in a family where money was considered evil, me having abundance is going to be a harder job.
Right.
Than if I came from a situation that is very different than that. So that's just a tiny taste of how it opens us up to possibilities for our lives and a different way of looking within than we're used to doing.
Well, Ann, I am so excited that you came here today. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you so much for your transparency. If you would like to learn more about Ann Ranson's transformation game, please log on to annranson.com. Also, if you would like to purchase her book, 83 Tools to Succeed in Business, log on to annranson.com as well. You can also connect with Ann on LinkedIn, Linktree, and Facebook. We'll be back in a moment, and I'll be sitting down with my next guest, Jennifer Daly. Back in a moment.